Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our last Tech and Career Talk of 2023. As always, I am your host, Devin Jenkins, our National Tech and Career Talk leader. I serve as the IT pricing leader for US and Canada at GE Healthcare. And I'm also the founder and CEO of Share the Vibes LLC, currently located in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a former resident of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, originally from Georgia, spent some time in Birmingham and Miles College as well. So I've been around a little bit and glad to see we have good representation on the call as well. Excited for today's conversation with two great leaders within our BDPA organization. So we're going to have a wonderful conversation today, just reflecting on some of the highlights from this year, as well as the last 2 years while Tim has been our president, and highlighting his transition out of our presidency into our new president-elect, Perry, talking through some of his experience, make sure everyone knows who he is, and get talk about some things you can get excited for as we look to the future. But before we get into that, as always, we like to give a little bit of context in case we do have those who may be new to BDPA or the Tech and Career Talks. So BDPA is Black Data Processing Associates. The organization has been around since 1975 with the focus on building up the diverse tech talent pipeline in the technology industry, focusing on middle high school students, teaching them computer skills, technology skills, professional development, making sure they're primed and ready to take on technology careers. But also, we serve as a forum for professionals in the IT industry, continue to develop our skills and make sure we're advancing in our careers. And our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So we're glad to have you with us today. These are our Tech and Career Talks. These take place the second and fourth Friday of each month. And we have a range of speakers. Some topics are more technical in nature, some are more career oriented, and we have senior executives to early careers. So everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome to share your expertise, as well as come and listen and learn. So we're excited to have you with us. November and December, we do just do one talk, as well as August when we have our conference because of the holidays. But in a general format, second and fourth Friday, we're here at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So glad to have you. That's about all of the introing I'm going to do today. I'm going to jump into the conversation. Like I think we have a lot to discuss, and it should be an exciting time for us. So, without further ado, I'm glad to have Mr. Tim Brown, our current National BDPA President, and Mr. Perry Carter, our National BDPA President elect, with us today for today's conversation. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Devin.
Very well, Devin. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for today's conversation. I know we got to connect a little bit earlier this week, just to do a little preparation for today, but definitely looking forward to an authentic conversation nonetheless. But Tim, you've served as president over these last few years, a position that only a few people in the world have held. So Tim, why don't we just start with you and a little bit about your time as president and some of the highlights and anything you want to share while serving as our BDPA president.
Yeah, Devin, I want to also say thank you for your service to BDPA over the years. These tech and career talks are exceptional, and it's primarily due to your leadership and your creativity. And so I just want to say thank you for leveraging your talents and all your resources to bring together some great speakers for these career and tech talks. A little bit about myself, for those who don't know what I do in my day job. I work with Johnson & Johnson, one of BDPA's premier corporate sponsors. Within J&J, I'm a finance director. I'm leading a project management office that's responsible for end-to-end project management of key enterprise planning and analytics strategic initiatives with a heavy process component driving consistent organizational excellence and optimal technological solutions throughout J&J's global finance organization, with budgets exceeding $200 million. And so J&J keeps me very busy during the normal work days, and I would say BDPA keeps me equally as busy during those non-business work days. And so it's been a pleasure to serve in this capacity as national president over the last 2 years. Throughout my almost 20 years of being a member of BDPA and serving, I find that I tend to get more out of serving within BDPA than I give, meaning that the opportunities to develop professionally, to enhance my network, and then needless to say, to give back to those that are coming behind us is very fulfilling, very rewarding. And I give a lot of credit to those that have come before us, such as, Norm and Dr. Bimley and Kenneth, and a number of other folks that were with BDPA from the very beginning, literally from the very beginning of BDPA, and they're still here with us as BDPA quickly approaches our 50th anniversary in 2025. And so I just want to always start by saying thank you and expressing my gratitude for those individuals that I stand on the shoulders of, and for those that continue to pour love and support into me and to those that we serve within BDPA. And so it's my intent right now just to give um, some highlights with regards to not only the year in review, but some key highlights during my 2-year term. And then I'll transition it to Perry to further introduce himself and also to express the exciting things that we can anticipate moving into his administration, which will start in January. And so first, let me kind of take a moment to kind of reflect of where we started in my 2-year administration. As we all know, we went through a very challenging time with COVID. And as I came into my administration, we were just kind of coming out of COVID. Under Terry Morris's administration, we had some successes with having virtual only national conferences, of which that was very successful, and both financially as well as in terms of participation, which speaks to just the resilience of BDPA, right? And through that extremely difficult time, we continue to serve. We continue to, help BDPA move forward. And but with that said, as we came out of COVID, there's a lot of questions. Should we meet in person, right? Because people were still very concerned about getting sick, right, and extremely concerned about having going to events that had, a large group of people. And so there was a lot of conversations about should we be in person, should we be hybrid, should we be virtual again, and just going through all of that. And in addition to that, when my administration initially started, we had almost half the board members' positions not filled, right? And so we had to quickly, identify those individuals that would fill those positions so that we can have a functional board, and then kind of move forward and get, just straight into the planning process, of which almost, the majority of the board was deeply involved with planning our convention at the time. And those are some of the very initial challenges that we faced during my administration. And one of the very key and historic milestones that occurred during my administration is that within a month and a half of me taking office, to be more precise, on February 19th, we lost our co-founder, Earl A. Pace Jr. And so, needless to say, that was a devastating situation for all of us that benefited from his mentorship and his just his presence, right, and the man that he was, and the role that he served and continued to serve within BDPA and within our community. And so, to be able to support his family and to make sure that, during the conference that we had in 2022, that we provided some sense of reverence to Earl A. Pace Jr. And for those that came before us, we wanted to make sure that we did that, and it was important for us to recognize our loss, right? Because that was also the first year that then we had our founders reception without our co-founder, right? Which of course was also a very significant time in BDPA's history. And so, but with that said, as I start out some of my comments, BDPA is resilient, right? And we have great strong leaders throughout BDPA that kept BDPA moving forward, and that's what we did, right? And so we're still here today, and I'm prayerful and hopeful that Earl is looking down on us and saying he's proud of us, right? And that we're continuing to move forward with the vision that that he shared with us, which is from the classroom to the boardroom. I should say our mission, right? And that he's proud that we continue um, to serve our community and develop diverse talent since 1975, right? And I think one of the things that Earl would also be particularly proud of is that he wanted us to not just prepare ourselves to get jobs, technology jobs, but he wanted us to prepare ourselves to be on the boards of major corporations, right? And also to own our own businesses, right? That was really where he wanted us to ultimately get to. Again, from the classroom to the boardroom, right? And so it's not just about getting a good job and making good money, but it's about being that decision maker, right? That helps to shape the future of technology and how technology will enable us to live better lives within our community. And so, again, I'm prayerful that he's proud of how we're continuing forward. But with that said, with all the achievements that we have and as resilient as we are and as we continue to move forward, there are always things that we can work on, and we'll talk about that more in a few moments here. Now, with that said, part of what I want to share just as an update for everyone is that as of December 1st, due to the great reporting that Judy Lane, one of our good, longtime, strong leaders within BDPA, she reported out that we have, as of December 1st, 45 chapters nationally. We have about over 3,000 members associated with those various different chapters. And I just kind of want to highlight some chapters that are showing some new life, if you would. So some chapters that have not been as active, but are being rejuvenated. So in the Midwest, we have our Cincinnati chapter, our Cleveland chapter, our Columbus chapter, and our Indianapolis chapter continues to stay strong and continue to make strides forward. In the Northeast, our Rhode Island chapter is developing and growing and making some strides. Our Baltimore chapter is continuing to move forward, and then also we have some interest with our Northern Virginia chapter, and so we want to continue to support those chapters and help them further develop and advance and serve the communities in which they live and work. And then there's the South region, right? And our Monroe chapter, Louisiana, is making some great progress. And due to leadership from Perry as our in his, I guess, current role as regional VP of the Northeast, but just in general in terms of Perry's vision and leadership and drive to help BDPA understand what it would take to develop some partnerships with our, state governments. Monroe benefited from Perry's leadership and some of the work that he drove there, and they secured significant funding from Louisiana that will enable them to make a much more of an impact within their city and their state. And we also are in the pipeline for other funding sources that Perry County will speak to from a high level, not into any details in terms of the financial amounts, et cetera. But again, that pipeline is going to enable BDPA to transform the way that we do work. And just looking forward to all the great work that Perry's administration is going to do, in particular in that space. And so that Monroe chapter is a standout in terms of some of the work that they're doing. And then in the West region, we have some new interests with they're calling themselves the Pacific Northwest. And so we have interest there, and then also the Houston chapter. And one of the things that I want to highlight with the Houston chapter is that they have been instrumental in helping us to charter a chapter at Prairie View A&M University. And so I'll speak to a little bit more about that in a moment. But I'm really proud of some of the work that they're doing there, and in particular, the fact that they are partnering with that university, have helped to establish a chapter there and helping to further develop our partnerships with universities. And then I also want to highlight a Washington, D.C. chapter, of which Norm Line helped found that chapter. And they just recently celebrated their 45th anniversary. I think it was on November 30th. And so again, just speaking to that resiliency and that ability to kind of continue to serve year after year and just stay present in those communities. Just want to say congratulations again to the Washington, D.C. chapter for their 45th anniversary. And Norm, want to thank you for not only founding that chapter, but again, still being present, you know, not only at that chapter but also nationally. And I'll speak to one of the things that Norm helped us with nationally that gave some reverence to Earl A. Pace Jr. as well, which is one of our new opportunities that I'll speak to in a second. And so speaking of new opportunities, part of what I want to do is also share some of the great work that Devin has led. So in addition to these career and tech talks, Devin, through his vision, is helping us to achieve one of those goals I just spoke about that Earl had for us, which is to own our own businesses. And so 2 years ago, Devin leveraged his resources and helped BDPA partner with the National Society of Black Engineers to start an initiative that we now call From Idea to Launch. And it's an initiative during which we use our career and tech talk platform to help budding entrepreneurs to understand what they need to do to advance their objectives to become, entrepreneurs in the technology space. And so, in addition to enabling individuals to get that coaching, we also have started to have pitch competitions, of which we had our first pitch competition last year. We had our second one this year. And I'm very proud that also, in addition to providing a monetary award to the winner of that pitch competition, the winner of that pitch competition also now has the opportunity to get some mentoring from the company Fearless that provided that funding for that. So it's not just about giving people money, but it's about putting your arms around them and helping them understand the right way to move forward, right? To advance their objectives in partnership with those that have been here for a while to help them, right? And and I also want to recognize Fearless for being the winner of this year's Earl A. Pace Jr. Entrepreneur in Excellence Award, which is the award that Norm had the idea for BDPA to provide to entrepreneurs, right? Again, in the spirit of what Earl A. Pace Jr. had intended for us to aspire towards. And so very proud of the work that Fearless has been doing. I would encourage everybody to look them up, all right, because they're doing some extraordinary things. And from what I understand, they also recently acquired another company, so their growth continues to move forward. Black-owned business in that Maryland area. And so look them up, support them. If you want a good job, contribute to a great company, go look up Fearless. Because they're doing the right things. They're doing the right things and they're doing it the right way, And so anyway, just want to continue to provide support to them. And then in addition to that, due to the leadership of Victor Montgomery, who's on the call, he's an executive at State Farm and also was our co-chair of this year's conference. We had our inaugural esports competition. I got to tell you, I didn't really know much about esports, And when I walked in, I'm like, and I don't think I mentioned this. I'm like, what's this? We got a bunch of kids running around all over the place playing video games, right? What's this about, right? I'm like, really? We're at BDPA and we playing video games? But what I learned to quickly understand is it's not just about playing video games, right? It's about enabling these young people to understand about that technology, right? And enabling them to collaborate with each other within an environment where they can see and interact both in person and online with their peers, right? And Dr. Bembley made a great comment at the conference, right? Which is that it's not just about playing the games either. It's about being those programmers that create the games, right? That have the vision of what that technology is about and how it can be used to enhance people's lives, right? And so that esports was definitely a winner, definitely a keeper. It was very successful, and we were joking during the conference that uh, this is clearly a stereotype. So I'm putting on my DE&I hat here for a moment, you know. But there was a young lady that beat out all the little boys in NBA 2K23, right? And this is my stereotype, so let me put it on myself. I'm sure those little boys was like, "What? we got we got beat by a girl playing NBA 2K23." And not only did our young lady beat those boys, of which there's a lot of them in the room, she also walked away with $1,500. And I hope some young people hear this recording so they can recognize, you know what, you can play a video game, learn about technology, which is your future, and as a high school student, walk away with $1,500 in your pocket. Now, how many high school students can say, how long would it take them to work a job at McDonald's or wherever they would work in high school and walk away with $1,500? Meanwhile, they can come to the BDPA conference, play a video game, walk out with the award and money in their pocket. And so that's surely a keeper, and we're going to continue to move. Well, I should say, I hope Perry and his administration continues to support esports as it moves forward. And then the last new opportunity that I want to highlight, which I'm very proud of because it was initiated from Johnson & Johnson. So the J&J executive sponsor to BDPA, Larry Jones, he approached me actually a couple of years ago about the possibility of BDPA moving into robotics, right? Because within J&J, specifically within our med tech sector, there's a lot of great work going on in robotics. And so Larry saw that. Same thing with like artificial intelligence. He did not want our young Black people to miss out on that opportunity. And by the way, for those that may not know, in addition to being the executive sponsor for BDPA within J&J, Larry also served as the chair of BETF. And so he's very much so aware of what we do within BDPA, what our mission is, and very much so invested in that. And so as a result of his suggestions, what we did is we put together a team, right, that shaped our inaugural Robotics Academy, which was an 8-week program of which we had students from various different colleges: Bloomfield College here in New Jersey, Howard, Morehouse, Seton Hall, Alabama A&M, Rutgers, Fisk, the University of Memphis, Howard, I mentioned Howard already, Spelman, and Hampton. We had a number of college students from a number of universities that expressed interest in it, right? And going back to the point that I made earlier about our Houston chapter helping to establish our Prairie View A&M chapter, needless to say, a program like this, as we continue to spark interest in college students at those various different universities, that hopefully will lead to more BDPA chapters on those college campuses, right? And so, as you can see, as I'm sure most of you are thinking through it, it's a great ecosystem, starting with what are the skill sets that are in demand in industry. Having senior executives at those corporations having an interest and a vision to say, I want to connect with BDPA to create that future talent, diverse talent that we will ultimately need in our corporation. And we are going to enable, we're going to provide financial resources, and human resources to BDPA, right, to help develop that talent, right? And then we're going to then take that knowledge of what those future desired skill sets are, go to those universities, help shape the type of education that those universities are providing to those students, teach those students what those skill sets are, have them come to our various different competitions within BDPA, get those good jobs because, of course, BDPA is well connected to major corporations like J&J, Eli Lilly and Company, Google, go down the list, State Farm, right? And then consequently get those jobs for these young people, help them become executives, come back to BDPA, develop some more leadership so we keep this going for another 50 years. That's what we're going to do. That's what this is about, right? And so, I'm very grateful for Larry's leadership, his support for over 10 years now, right, of ensuring that J&J provides funding to BDPA, and he continues to be committed. In fact, I got a message from Dr. Wolf, one of our past national vice president, who volunteered to be a director for this year's inaugural Robotics Academy, that Dr. Wolf is having conversations with the J&J contact to talk about how we could take it to the next level in 2024, right? And so we're going to keep that going. We're going to keep on listening to our corporate executives, understanding what those future skill sets are, and making sure that BDPA is at the forefront of continuing to develop that diverse talent since 1975. And so we're going to continue to move forward and do that. Just two more things I want to mention before I pass it on to Perry. Perry, I'm sorry, I got a little excited over here. I didn't realize I've been talking too much, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to get to the point and then pass it to you. College chapters. So we already had charters at FAMU and Purdue, right? We established those charters during Terry Morris's administration, and then during my administration, we established charters at Prairie View, A&M, and IUPUI. We also have interest to establish charters at Virginia State University and at Grand Valley State University, right? And so we're going to continue to nurture those relationships with the administrators on those campuses, and charter chapters there, and continue to develop those chapters at those various different colleges and universities. So with that said, I'd like to pass it on to a very capable and exceptional leader, Perry Carter. I'm going to ask him to talk about our future and perhaps start with the pipeline of new funding sources. Again, just talking about a high level, no specific numbers, anything like that, and all the other things that Perry has envisioned for BDPA as I've now passed the baton over to Perry.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Great presentation. And I think you summed it up extraordinarily well. Very excited. And for those that are new to BDPA on today's call, just hopefully your takeaway today is that our organization is not a startup. We are rapidly approaching our 50th anniversary in 2025. And a lot of the programs that we have in place right now, our next administration will be pretty much focused on continuity of operations, making sure that what we do now we can do better and or rapidly expand it to the areas that Tim just alluded to. My background is covered in our book, The BDPA Story. If you pick up the book, it's on Amazon. And a small segment of that is in chapter 12 of the book. But just to, for those that are new to BDPA or those that do not know me, this is probably going to be my last years in BDPA as we, as we actually round third base and head home. So this is my 40th year in BDPA. I started the student chapter in 1983 in Philadelphia. I was pretty much one of the co-founders of the Temple University student chapter. And I came across BDPA through a radio commercial, WDAS in Philadelphia. And we basically were invited to attend a meeting to find out about computer science, data processing. And that was downtown Philadelphia, Girard Bank. So that's where I met the late Earl Pace and members of the Philadelphia chapter. One of our first meetings on the call right now is Dr. Jesse Bimley. Dr. Bimley was one of our first speakers at Temple University. And ever since then, ever since 1983, I pretty much held a lot of very active roles in the organization, from student chapter to my current role right now as the Northeast Region Vice President. And as Tim alluded to, a lot of the excitement that we have could not be done without people like yourselves. Basically, we always try to focus on small unit leadership. And within that leadership area, we want to make sure that everybody has what they need, the tools, the relationships, the technologies that we need to do that. We're still a volunteer organization, but as we just mentioned, we do plan to now work with local chapters to try to develop a more rapid process to actually receive funding for the programs that we already do, so that we can grow and actually hire people and work with small businesses, work with colleges and universities, work with defense contractors. So in that realm, part of my background right now, as Tim mentioned, his day job, my day job, I work with a company known as Premier Enterprise Solutions, and we're here in Largo, Maryland, and we are a government contractor. Most of our contracts involve Department of Defense, the intelligence community, HHS, and we also support the VA. And in that, we also support other small businesses. We will be leaving the 8A program next year, and we're always looking for mission partners to work with us as well. Though, as you'll see over the years, and you look at my resume and my background on my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that I've been supporting small businesses in the defense and intelligence area for quite some time. And we also are very, very supportive of startups and entrepreneurship. My large companies that I work with, Perot Systems and CSC, I've had an opportunity to work in the small business office. So the term supplier diversity may come up in some of our conversations, and you'll see that as we talk about some of the things we want to do in the near term. So right now, I want to just go over some of the areas that Tim wanted me to discuss, some of the highlights. As you just mentioned, Tim, the Northeast region, again, could not have been done without our chapter presidents. We've had a resurgence in interest from all the chapters in the Northeast region, and many of them are now moving into basically initial operational capabilities. Some of them are reborn or rebooted, if you will. But we are now looking at Boston and Delaware as the final companies and corporations and members to actually take those chapters to the next round. And then the Philadelphia chapter, I personally will be working with the Philadelphia team or teams in that area for events and celebrations for our 2025 celebrations in the Philadelphia area. And again, congratulations, Mr. Bell, Raymond Bell, for Washington, D.C. chapter and its 45th anniversary. And Norm and Jesse, thanks for coming out and supporting us. Everybody was very glad to see everyone. And Norman, I can't thank you enough for you and Ken for producing our book, The BDPA Story. And Norm was able to come down to our anniversary celebration last week and have a book signing for those that attended. So again, thank you so much for everything you've done. And if it wasn't for people like Norman, Ken, Dr. Bimley, and everyone else that supported us, we would not have an organization that we could take forward into the next 50 years. And toward that end, some of the things that we want to discuss right now is basically taking advantage of what we already have through the high school computer competition. Part of my vision is to expand that into for college students and also technical schools. So we want to have computer competitions that go far and beyond the high school computer competition as well. The IT showcase, we also want to expand that into the same realm. We do have it available for high school and college students, but we also want to expand that into industry. And part of that is to take some of the white papers and the studies that students do and move that into a more formal publication. I know that was one of Earl's visions years ago, is to have a quarterly publication very similar to HBR, or some of you may know as Harvard Business Review, have a formal magazine that comes out every quarter from senior IT executives. We definitely want HBCU participation in that as well, but we see that as a very unique way to start blending in some of the white papers, some of the research papers that students are doing with some of the solutions that we need to support our industry. We also have the mobile app showcase. We definitely want to expand that further. Almost every device right now that we use is pretty much in our hand or in our lap or on our desk. but we also want students to be able to explore that as well. As Tim alluded to, as many competitions as we can provide in our BDPA cons, or regional BDPA cons, or national BDPA cons, as many competitions that we can provide to the students and get them dollars, scholarship dollars and grant funding, that makes it very exciting. We want it to be hopefully someday as exciting as the Final Four and Sweet 16, but we do that in tech. We also have for professionals, many of you I spoke with at the conference last year, some of the gaps that BDPA needs, some of the challenges that we have. And they said, we're not reaching out to entry-level workers. We're not reaching out to our young professionals or professionals in general. So we want to be able to expand our academies. So we will be working with our subject matter experts in industry, our sponsors and mission partners to discuss what they would like to see in the academies, and also to our members and some of the new members that will be joining, what you would like to see in some of our academies. So right now we do have the Cloud Academy, Data Science Academy. Tim just mentioned support from the Robotics Academy. I would also like to have input as to where industry wants to go with other academies as well. One of the ones on my list would be to support the extended reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. So basically we want a lot of the content that we already have in our communities and also within BDPA to move it to some future platforms. So those will be some of the areas that we'll have conversations about as early as next quarter. And Tim, I think you also wanted me to talk about some of the funding opportunities. In the last 18 months to 2 years, we've also had pipeline meetings. These meetings I've invited basically all of the chapter presidents, especially the ones in our region, Northeast region, the presidents, as well as the regional vice presidents, to go over grant opportunities, as well as contract or sub-awards or subcontract opportunities for local BDPA chapters. Once these funding opportunities are realized, we put them into a pipeline and then we vet them. Then we will look at basically how we're going to select which ones we're going to submit our proposals for. So and Tim and I know, Tim, you've heard me talk about our acronym. So one of the areas in our acronym I always talk about is BDPA, and I share it. Sometimes it's corny, but it's what we really mean. What does BDPA really stand for? So in some conversations, we say, hey, billion-dollar programs available. And in order to actually access those billion-dollar programs, we have to put together proposals. So that's the other acronym: business development, proposals, and awards. So those two, if you take anything away from today, when you look at BDPA, billion-dollar programs available, because our tech industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And how do we get those funding into our communities, into our programs, into our chapters, into our regions? Business development, proposals, and awards. Now, from that, Tim asked me to talk about some of the areas that are in a pipeline. We will have another pipeline meeting next Tuesday. And what we did discuss in earlier pipeline meetings are the grants that we already have submitted and or sent proposals to, and also different requests from federal, state, local governments, or Fed SLED. So we always highlight those in our meetings as well, and also check on the status. So I will be briefing that next Tuesday. And again, he mentioned that a lot of that for our Monroe chapter in Louisiana, EJ Maxwell, president from BDPA Monroe, gets all the credit for that. These are really relationship based. And before I turn it back over to Devin and Tim, I want to make sure that one of the areas that we will always focus on in our projects, our teaming, our selection processes, and how we vet talent that we bring aboard as far as our leaders, our chapter presidents, and also the industry that we work with, our industry mission partners. We pretty much have 6 pillars. And the first 2 are most important. It's domain knowledge and relationships. Do we understand their domain? Do we understand what their needs are? Do we understand their requirements? And how can we help them scale? How do we add value to our mission partners, to our sponsors, to our chapters? The second column or part, if you put together a matrix, would be relationships. Do we own the relationships? And the short answer is yes. We've been around for 50 years. For the most part, a lot of our members have grown up within the industry. So we do own those relationships across all the sectors: academia, public sector, and private sector, and also the nonprofits. Then the other component helps support that. when I say support, we have the people, the processes, the past performance, and pricing. So when we submit our proposals to respond to these billion-dollar programs that are available, we want to make sure that we have the right people that can actually execute the work, execute the budgets, and continue the planning. We also want to make sure that we have past performance. So who in our realm, who in BDPA Nation do we have that has the past performance, that understands this customer, they own the relationship, and they have domain knowledge. And then we also have past performance. Have we done this before? Who are the subject matter experts? What does their resume look like? Have they supported a BDPA project in the past? Have they served as a judge? Have they served as a sponsor? Have they served as a mission partner? So all of these items we look at as far as bid, no bid considerations when we go after these grants. And finally, price to win. Are we pricing our grants to win? A lot of times we've had organizations that would submit proposals and they'll max out. They'll say, hey, there's a range anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000. So a lot of times you'll see bids come in maxing out at $500,000. But if you know the customer and you understand the domain, they're trying to use that range to spread the wealth. So these are some of the areas that we will be looking for and working with in these pipeline meetings. I do plan to continue the pipeline meetings, but probably next year, these meetings will be at the vice president level for our BDPA, because then the vice presidents will then conduct their own pipeline meetings with the chapters and the mission partners and the sponsors within their region or within their AOR, or area of responsibility. So Tim, I think I touched on a lot. Devin, is this time where we want to open up the Q&A?
Yes, we have time for some Q&A now, and I want to thank you both for what you shared. I think, Tim, I think you said good context with what we've done over the last few years and the things we've established and how we continue to be innovative while staying true to our foundation. And Perry, I love that you're planning to build on that as we go forward and be even more innovative and tap into those billion-dollar programs available. I like that. So I'm excited for what's to come. And I think this will be a good culmination with our 50th anniversary celebration in 2025. So thank you both for sharing with us. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. So I'm going to address one was from Matthew Lampkin, asking about the college chapters. I think you may have mentioned four, Tim, here, IUPUI, Prairie View, and Purdue. And what was the last chapter that's chartered?
FAMU. And I say that with a little enthusiasm because, I see Chandrea is on the call. I know if she come on, there she go. I knew she gonna do something to acknowledge, her and her hubby over there, So, but yes, FAMU was one of our first charter chapters. Yes.
Absolutely. Then we had another question from William Humans saying, where can we find a list of student chapters at colleges and universities? Which I think might be in the question that was just asked. But Tim, I'll let you speak to that.
So real quick, if you don't mind, William, if you have like 1 or 2 seconds, tell the audience where you're from, young man. What school did you go to?
There we go. You should be able to unmute now.
Good afternoon. I'm from Washington, D.C. Dunbar High School. One of my mentor is yourself, Mr. Carter, and also Dr. Jesse Bimley as well. I'm a Rattler, graduate of Florida A&M University, and major in computer information sciences.
Outstanding. So and that, I mean, this is what Norm and Earl's vision is. We are so well connected that when you throw out a school, a name, I say, we know somebody there. And I'm gonna let you all get to meet William through LinkedIn personally, but he's just one of many success stories that we have. And I'm not talking 1,000, we're talking tens of thousands of people that have come through BDPA's pipeline over the last 50 years. And so, William, again, I just want to share with everyone else, we are extremely proud of your successes. Thank you for everything that you do. And thanks so much for actually attending today's event. So again, Devin, I just wanted to share that with all the Rattlers online here, is that, our pipeline comes from all over the country. And if it was not for the people like Dr. Bimley, Norman Mays, the JEF program, Joint Educational Facilities that Dr. Bimley launched, If it was not for the members that supported students like young William back in the day, then where he is now would not be part of our success story. So this, in essence, encapsulates the next chapter, if you will, the next books that Ken and Norm are going to write for us, of course. The BDPA story, part 2 and 3 and 4. So, William, thanks so much for sharing that with us. And again, I hope Matthew and William that answered your questions. We will have a list of schools in our pipeline meeting coming up next week. I will share some of the schools that we already are working with. And the main thing you all have seen in some of our articles we've written, if you go into bdpatoday.com and just do a search on HBCUs, you'll see how we've been working with the Department of Defense and other agencies to get HBCUs tied into some of the research dollars. As many of you know, a lot of the R&D, the research and development, RDT&E money and funding are in billions of dollars. They go to other schools other than HBCU. So we are now working with different leaders on both sides of the aisle to try to get major subcontract opportunities to the existing research and development operations so that the HBCUs can not only get the people in the past performance, but they'll be in a position to actually pursue more funding as a prime. So that's part of our pipeline conversation, and we will be working with the various schools within all of our regions. So I hope Matthew and William answer your question about the HBCU list.
Yep. You have another question from Matthew asking me, is there any opportunities for military sciences to tie into BDPA? And Matthew says he met a sister in the Connecticut area. She's a West Point grad, part of ROTC at UConn. He also would like to introduce her to you. So I'll let you take that one. I know you've been a part of our partnership with the Air Force in their small business transfer program and some of the other efforts there.
Yeah, so William, as far as everybody's known me, I did not mention that earlier, but I came into BDPA in 2023. I was in Naval ROTC at the time at Temple University, but my unit was at the University of Pennsylvania. So I did the Navy ROTC program. I was a Marine Corps option. So when I graduated, I became a data systems officer in the United States Marine Corps. From that, I've maintained relationships at the Pentagon and on all of the services ever since, to include some of the agencies that we have that support the Department of Defense. That being said, in our history with BDPA, we do have relationships with very strong relationships with the Air Force and the Office of the Secretary of Defense with respect to DoD writ large. And we also have past performance with Navy, Air Force. We are looking to expand that into Army, Space Force, and also the National Guard and Air National Guard. So yes, have her reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to everyone. I know we have almost 20,000 followers right now and connections on our LinkedIn presence with our BDPA Today piece. And we also have several thousand for BDPA also on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a very good place to actually connect. Now, going back to the military science and military aspect, we also want to include junior ROTC programs, get them involved in all of our youth programs. So the mobile app showcase, the IT showcase, robotics. We also want to make sure that if you have an ROTC unit, junior ROTC unit in your community, we want to bring them to the table, introduce them to BDPA formally, make sure that the directors of those programs and also the directors of those various school districts are aware of our programs, because the National Defense Authorization Act now includes language where they are to include STEM and cybersecurity programs, and you might even see quantum computing coming in for junior ROTC activity. So it's a natural fit for BDPA and local BDPA chapters for youth programs. And for young adults, it's a great place for to be a coach, a team mom, team dad, as well as a judge on various competitions at the local level. So you don't have to worry about traveling too far. Just identify the school that has a junior ROTC program and engage BDPA.
Got some excitement when you said quantum computing.
Oh yeah, and Devin, I'm glad you mentioned that. Just as a sidebar, if you haven't seen 60 Minutes this past Sunday, it should be on YouTube now. They did a very outstanding segment on quantum computing, and you'll see exactly what it means for BDPA. So it's a very exciting future.
Absolutely. I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I guess Tim, Perry, we have about 4 minutes left. Any closing comments from both of you before we wrap for the year?
But if I may, I'll let Perry go first, and I'd like to conclude if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say just to close out, because I think Tim is going to close out for probably some of the same things I was going to say, but he's the president. He's the president. This is his show. So I just want to basically highlight some areas that I want you all to look forward to. First of all, thank you so much. I'm very humbled to be next leader. I'm very excited, looking forward to working with every one of you. And also re-engaging with our regional presidents, vice presidents, and directors. Very exciting. And I know we touched on quantum computing as one area, but the other areas that we want to start wrapping into our programs, our youth programs, and our academies, we want to actually definitely look at artificial intelligence. So these are some of the areas that we're going to focus on for our conference coming up. So our next 2 years, our 50th anniversary, as well as our conference next year, BDPA Con 24, look forward to seeing more discussions and panel discussions with artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and also the areas that we need to discuss on zero trust, some of the cybersecurity challenges that we have in our communities. So Tim, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Perry, and just wanted to close out by once again expressing my gratitude. So, but let me start with the National Board of Directors. I just want to thank all those that served on the National Board of Directors during my tenure. So Timothy Butts, I see he's on the line. He's our National Vice President. Eric Edgefor, our VP of Finance. Kenneth, who served as our Midwest Regional VP. Stephanie Glossner, our South Regional VP. Raven Stevenson, who was our South Regional Director. Perry, you served as our Northeast Regional VP. And then also we had Jason Hicks, who served as our Northeast Regional Director. I think in addition to that, I also would like to thank some of our National Executive Committee members. So in addition to Timothy Butts and Eric, I also want to thank Judy Lane, our VP of Membership Management, Nicholas Partey, who was our VP of Strategy, as well as Nate Bolden, who also served as VP of Strategy during my tenure. Our National Chief Information Officer, Delvin Bain, Greg Flowers, who served as our National Marketing Director, and Jason Bradshaw, who served as our National Webmaster. Once again, want to thank those that we stand on the shoulders of. Kenneth, thanks for serving on this administration, as well as all that you've done over the decades. Dr. Bimley, we never can say thank you enough to you and all that you did with founding the high school coding competition and all the love that you poured into all the leaders within BDPA and all the students and the programs that you started. Norm, your coaching, your leadership. Thank you personally, Norm, for making time to coach me, right? And just help uplift me as, we do what we do within BDPA. Want to also thank my mom, who made time to be on this call. For without her, I literally would not be here. And but also all the love that she poured into me to help me become the man that I am today. And then last, but surely not least, want to thank my dear wife, who's also on the call, very supportive as I transitioned into this role. Not only did she decide that she wanted to continue to support me as great wives do, but she also decided that she would volunteer, and she helped with the Data Science Academy. And then she surprised me even further and became a life member during this year's national conference. So that was a great moment for me and my wife, for me to be able to pin my wife as a lifetime member of BPA. So I just wanted to make sure that I express my gratitude for all those that made it possible for me to serve, and want to say thank you to Perry for stepping up through the decades that you've been committed to BDPA. You saw fit to, as I think, as you put it, round third base and bring it home as we move forward to our 50th anniversary. And as I've said numerous times, Perry, and I'll say it perhaps for the last time as the national president, I won't be hard to find, my brother. I will be here for you, right? And I hope that the other leaders on the call will continue to be here for Perry and his administration, because although we may serve in a lesser capacity, um, his administration will still need us, right? And so hopefully we will be there when he makes that call to provide that support. So, Devin, thank you so much, my brother. Appreciate it. And I hope everyone found this session useful and was motivated by all the great work that's ahead for BDPA.
Thank you, Tim and Perry, for sharing with us today. Thank you both for your leadership, and thank you all for joining. I've shared a link in the chat. If you want to watch this recording afterwards or find it, it will be uploaded to the National BDPA YouTube channel, as all of our previous talks are as well. So if you go to bdpa.org/tech in career talks, you'll find this recording as well as all of our previous talks, and it's on our YouTube channel. So watch it, share it, and spread the word. BDPA is still here and we're working, and there's more to be done. So thank you all. We'll be back in Q1, getting this going again. We got some great speakers lined up. I think we got somebody from the Celtics on the docket. We got some entrepreneurs going on. So we got a good year going on. We're still rolling. So enjoy the holidays. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Until next time.
Great work, Devin. Great work. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone.